In Animal Crossing New Horizons, there's always been some intrigue around some interesting furniture items or the art pieces that are a part of the game. Well, obviously with art, it's inspired by real world pieces. Seeing it in Animal Crossing is always like looking into a mirror of an alternate, more eerie timeline, or at least that was the impression I was always under. But when it comes to clothing items, the King Tut mask is just the weirdest of them all. You may or may not have experienced this in your own game, but if you actually put on the King Tut mask, you will hear this really eerie sound effect, and essentially if you run around for any amount of steps, you will inevitably trip and fall. This is actually an homage to the bad luck mechanic that was found in the older Animal Crossing games, where if Katrina told you had bad luck, there was a chance you could just trip and fall. But this time around, that's not a part of the bad luck mechanic. This is completely unique of wearing the King Tut mask. Eventually in the Animal Crossing New Horizons Happy Home Paradise update, they would add Katrina back into the game, and the good luck bad luck mechanic would be reintroduced in a new way, but there's no crossover between the King Tut mask and the bad luck in any shape or form. So what's going on here? Well, this is an example of an Animal Crossing mystery that to this day is still unsolved. And when you look at the history of all of Animal Crossing, all the way back from the beginning to the newest things that we've seen in New Horizons, there's a lot of mysteries that have been brought up over the years, but never quite have found a concrete solution. This is 30 minutes of unsolved Animal Crossing mysteries. But first, we might be a brand new and small Animal Crossing channel, but we actually got a sponsor. And this video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends, one of the most popular mobile RPGs out there, bringing a true console level experience straight to your phone. Known for being a game with endless content and new updates, Raid offers millions of champion combinations and countless tactics to master as you fight bosses, do dungeon runs, battle your way through the campaign, or match in the PvP arena. With over 600 unique champions, you can build your team and develop your own personal playstyle, and these are my favorite characters to play as. Kyle of the Drakes, a legendary champion that looks cool and heals. This is one of the free champions. She can drain the target's turn meter. Also Gintoro, a samurai who hits enemies in succession to do more damage. Gintoro is known for being the ultimate boss executioner. He's great because if you don't have enough attack on your team, Gintoro provides a powerful all-around attack aura. This month, Raid just released a new feature called Awakening. It's a dungeon in the Iron Twins forest. If you're able to beat it, you can awaken your champion, which lets you choose between multiple blessings to boost your champion's performance. On top of that, Raid just released Ultimate Death Knight, a super powered form of one of the most popular champions, and everyone can get them for free by logging in, playing Raid for 7 days between now and October 27th. Now's the best time to start or return to playing, and if you use DK Rises promo code, you get free items that will put you to level 5 with a 5-star ascension. And if you're brand new, click on the link in the description or scan the QR code to get bonuses worth $30 that'll start you strong. You get a free champion Rector Draft, 200k silver, 1 energy refill, 1 XP boost, and an ancient shard all waiting for you in your inbox. Go click on the link, download Raid, and we'll see you guys in game. Let's look at the Animal Crossing Wishing Well next. Now if you go all the way back to the Nintendo 64 Animal Forest game that was only released in Japan, there actually is no wishing well in the game. There's just this bell shrine. However, in the English localization of the game, this shrine is replaced with a fountain instead, and interestingly enough, the fountain speaks. Matter of fact, the fountain plays a pretty big role in the original Animal Crossing game, where you can go and speak to it and learn a few things about your village, such as the cleanliness of your village, what areas may have too many trees. But that's not all that this mysterious fountain can do. If you've taken up an errand or a chore for a villager where you have to deliver something, and that villager ends up moving away, you're stuck with that item. You can't throw it away and you can't sell it, but you can take it to the wishing well and apologize to the magical wishing well god or whatever for not completing your errand in time, and that's the only way you can actually get rid of the item from your inventory. But then things get even weirder. When you finally do get a perfect looking village in this Animal Crossing game, you actually get the golden axe from the fountain. The statue on the fountain actually comes to life, and you're introduced to a new character known as Farley. Farley will then grant you the golden axe, and from there mysteriously go back to just being a statue again. But what on earth is going on here? Firstly, Farley is not any type of identifiable creature from the looks of it. It doesn't look human, and he definitely doesn't look like any recognizable animal. Research on this character is actually very lackluster too. If you look at the original Animal Crossing guidebook that would go into detail about every single character in the game, even all of the special event holiday characters that would only show up maybe once a year, Farley is barely mentioned at all, getting just a paragraph. But interestingly enough, if you look at Animal Crossing websites that have trivia, they say that Farley's not even in the book and is just having an image of himself replacing a snowman. Now, I checked through the book and that wasn't the case for me, so I don't know where this rumor comes from or why somebody would maybe start it, or maybe there's different versions of guidebooks out there. But nonetheless, it's still interesting to point out. He did have an e-reader card made of him, giving us a little bit of a closer look at the character, and we know that his star sign is a Virgo. That's all we really know about him. Even more interestingly enough, this character has a completely unique voice, which is very odd compared to all of Animal Crossing, where in only 1 or 2 different instances is there an Animal Crossing character that has a completely unused and unique voice. This is what it sounds like. Yeah, it sounds similar to what typical male villagers may sound like in the original Animal Crossing game, but with this weird, nuanced, slowed down type voice, and it's just a little bit odd compared to everything else. After the GameCube release of this Animal Crossing game, this character would never be seen again. However, in Animal Crossing City Folk, we do get a very interesting occurrence instead, also in regards to a fountain. In Animal Crossing City Folk, if you donate 400,000 bells to the town fund to get a fountain, players can actually take their axe and throw it into the well. This then causes a very interesting occurrence. A new character known as Serena will appear. She's a female Chihuahua dog goddess, which, okay, cool. I mean, she straight up refers to us as a mortal. And she's not really too happy with the fact that people throw coins and now axes into the wishing well. From there, you'll have to answer a series of questions, and there's really no correct way to answer it. She could accuse you of lying if you're trying to sweet talk her, or if you're honest, she could get mad. It's kind of just random. But depending on this encounter, you may get a golden axe in return. Outside of this, Serena doesn't really do anything else, and she never appears in another Animal Crossing game as a special character like this. This could leave some implications as to what's going on with Farley. Maybe he's a god in his own right, and he's overlooking the village from the GameCube version of the Animal Crossing game, or maybe they thought Farley was just too weird of a thing and they decided to try to replace it with something a little more upbeat like Serena. Well, we still don't know to this day. What we do know is that when New Leaf came out, Serena was absent from the game, despite the fact that you could still get a fountain in your village. And in New Horizons, a fountain is just a furniture piece you place outside, and obtaining golden axes is done in a much easier and different way. There is one very small callback to Serena in Animal Crossing's New Horizons, though, that you may have completely missed. When you look to KK Slider, there's a handful of Animal Crossing songs that you can request that are essentially Easter eggs or nods to the previous Animal Crossing games. There's Forest Life, which is a reference to the original Animal Crossing Animal Forest games for the GameCube and N64, but if you request Animal City, KK Slider will play the theme from Animal Crossing City Folk, or Let's Go to the City, depending on where you live, and when he gives you the song or the album that gives you the song, the artwork that can be put on display shows a little village and KK and some other villagers. But right there in the corner, you can see the fountain that has Serena still there in stone, much like the same stone figure we saw with Farley. So yeah, this is an Animal Crossing mystery that seems to get drip-fed information maybe every decade or so, but we will continue to follow it as years continue. But who are these fountain characters? This next mystery gets even more crazy because it involves UFOs, aliens, and spans the course of pretty much the entire Animal Crossing franchise. And while a lot of Animal Crossing fans have theorized what these little nuanced occurrences could actually be, sometimes it feels like no one's done a comprehensive look at the abundance of evidence and references to aliens and UFOs existing existing in the Animal Crossing universe. So, my wife and I decided to jump into Animal Crossing New Horizons to start out and try to get to the bottom of one of the longest lasting mysteries in all of Animal Crossing history. This is the mystery of the Animal Crossing aliens. Now, you may have seen other people theorize about what's going on with the aliens in Animal Crossing, but from what I've seen, no one's dug deep enough to actually look at the full scope of the subtle tidbits of information hidden in all of the Animal Crossing games dating all the way back to the very beginning. Matter of fact, a villager that has been mostly forgotten about until recently is one of the first instances in the entire franchise to even mention the possibility of the existence of aliens and UFOs. We're talking about the villager known as Roswell. Now, quick overview of this character, Roswell. First of all, he only appeared in the original Animal Crossing game for the GameCube and never appeared in any Animal Crossing title afterwards until the Animal Crossing 2.0 update, when they did the Happy Home Paradise with all of the new villagers being added in, where he finally was reintroduced. He also was reintroduced to Pocket Camp at the same time. So there's been a long gap of time since this character has been in a game. Now, his English name actually is a reference to the various conspiracy theories surrounding the Roswell incident, which essentially is a famous conspiracy theory that a flying saucer crash landed in Roswell, New Mexico in 1947. With all the reports that came out of Roswell, New Mexico during that time, it led to the creation of the modern day alien that we see in a lot of science fiction. Similarly, in Japan, Roswell is Pyonkon, which essentially is an onomatopoeia for the sound that UFOs make in pop culture. His catchphrase is space, and his appearance is, well, rather robotic, but also he has these circles which are an homage to things like crop circles, things that are often related to aliens. So no big deal here, it's a character obviously putting a play on some crazy alien conspiracy theorist, but it does at least have its relevancy from way early on with references to aliens. Also in the original Animal Crossing game, you could get this UFO, a furniture piece that remains in each Animal Crossing game, though it is interesting nonetheless that this UFO appears and might be relevant later on. Now let's quickly talk about Gulliver. In the original Animal Crossing game, he would show up on the beach, confused as always, just like he does in New Horizons. However, in Animal Crossing Wild World and in Animal Crossing City Folk, he'd actually be seen flying through the sky with a spacecraft, which players could then shoot him down with a slingshot, causing him to crash somewhere in the town. From there, you'd have to help Gulliver find pieces to fix up his UFO, and then you can send him on his way. Now, if you didn't already know this, there was an Animal Crossing anime film that released way back during the Gen 2 era of Animal Crossing. So we're going to go into really minor spoilers real quick, but just a heads up. In this anime, Gulliver also appears, similarly, who crashed his UFO, and while nobody really believes he's a real alien, does decide to help him, and then boom, some real aliens actually show up. And this is the first time we actually have an acknowledgement that there are real extraterrestrial creatures out there watching these Animal Crossing villages. They don't seem to be mean or anything, but they're definitely out there, and what their intentions truly are is a pretty big mystery. Now let's move forward to Animal Crossing New Leaf and Animal Crossing New Horizons. If you have a television set up anywhere in your island or village at 3:33 a.m., we waited up for it. We went and waited by the TV just to see what would come on the television at 3:33 a.m. and nothing happened. Yeah, we kind of messed up on this one. We didn't realize it has to be 3:33 a.m. on a Saturday night, not just any night of the week, which does make it a little bit more rare. So we this time came back 3:33 a.m. on a Saturday night. Actually, we almost missed it, but if you're awake, you'll get a mysterious broadcast sent to you from an unknown source. And this seems to be one of the first ever interactions directly with the aliens. Now, the broadcasts are mostly the same between New Leaf and New Horizons, but are still really eerie nonetheless. When we were testing this out, we thought the voices sounded a little creepy. I mean, it's 3:33 a.m. You don't expect something like this normally to pop up on your television screen, especially because the music that's typically playing at 3 a.m. in Animal Crossing seems to exist already to make you question your own sanity. So this broadcast is nonetheless still pretty unexpected. So what exactly does that mean, and where do we even go from here? Well, at this point we still don't know too much about what's actually going on with these aliens. There doesn't seem to be anything much happening in the sky, but another thing that a lot of people haven't pointed out is that that same UFO saucer that we talked about appearing in the very first Animal Crossing game is of course in Animal Crossing New Horizons, and you can interact with it, and when you do, you actually see this little figure come out of the UFO ship, and it looks just like the same figure that shows up on the broadcast. Similarly, the broadcast shows a UFO ship that looks just like this furniture item. So we are seeing a little bit more of a connection growing here, but it still leaves a pretty big question as to what is actually happening with these aliens. And does Gulliver actually have anything to do with this? Matter of fact, Gulliver's involvement may be much bigger than anyone actually initially suspected. In the original Animal Crossing game, Gulliver just shows up shipwrecked on the shore, much like he does in New Horizons. But a lot of the times when he's talking about places that he's been, he alludes to worlds that we know are completely different than anything in Animal Crossing, referencing other video game franchises. Like in the original Animal Crossing, he references The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask with Pinnacle Rock. He also references things like Toad Town and Hyrule. In Animal Crossing Wild World, the one where he crashes his spaceship, he references a space fox, referring to Fox McCloud from the Star Fox series, and also references a bounty hunter who can roll into a ball, referencing Samus Aran from the Metroid series. In New Leaf, he references locations from Super Mario Sunshine, along with Paper Mario and Earthbound, and in Animal Crossing's New Horizons, he even references a location from the NES game Star Tropics from all the way back in 1990. Now obviously these could be chalked up to just a simple homage Easter egg to other Nintendo titles, or what if Gulliver is in some way or another some interdimensional traveling being that somehow washes up or crash lands on the shores of Animal Crossing and needs our help because he really is conspiring alongside those aliens. We do know that the aliens can shapeshift because of what we see in the anime movie. Perhaps they shapeshift into the form of Gulliver to seem more normal to whatever villager that lives with all these animals anyways sees on a daily basis. In the Animal Crossing 1.3 update, we were introduced to a brand new character known as Gullivar, who actually isn't Gulliver in a pirate outfit like I thought. He's a completely different character, but he too, while being a pirate or whatever, references a ton of other Nintendo games. So could this be another alien traveler trying to look like Gulliver but likes pirates? I don't know. But nonetheless, this is a mystery that has existed since the beginning of Animal Crossing and continues to question fans to this day. Next mystery: who was supposed to be the mayor in Animal Crossing New Leaf? This is one we briefly talked about in our 20 minutes of useless Animal Crossing facts, and some people in the comments seemed confused, thinking they already knew the answer, but there isn't an actual concrete answer to this at all. In Animal Crossing New Leaf, you arrive at a village where you automatically are thought of to be the mayor, and you just kind of say okay, and you end up being the mayor despite the fact that you weren't originally the mayor that was supposed to come to the town. A couple of days later, you'll get a letter in the mail from whoever was supposed to become the mayor, stating that they kind of had cold feet and backed out of this job opportunity and think that you're doing a great job, which is spooky because it means they're just watching us do our thing in New Leaf. And that's literally all the information we got. Now, we did get comments from people saying that they thought Tortimer was supposed to be the mayor because he was the mayor in previous games, and other people thinking that it's Rover, the cat that you see on the train at the beginning of Animal Crossing New Leaf and in the original Animal Crossing game. Now, the Tortimer one doesn't quite make sense because we already know for a fact, based off of this Animal Crossing game, that Tortimer was possibly the mayor before, but retired, and he's still around. He wasn't the new person stepping into the role. And while I like the theory that Rover was maybe supposed to become the mayor for whatever reason, I can't help but to think that if that was the case, Rover would have just outright have told you that he was supposed to be the mayor, or in his letter addressed it as such. We know Rover just rides around on trains all day and all night too, so it almost seems out of character for him to step up and settle down to become the mayor. Nonetheless, if you like the Rover theory, that's fine, but there's not a lot of evidence or concrete concrete evidence saying that it is specifically this cat that was supposed to become the mayor of the Animal Crossing town before we just randomly showed up. Also, have any of you ever wondered, across the Animal Crossing franchise, is it possible for villagers to die? Now, this might sound like a pointlessly morbid question, but when we look at Animal Crossing from one game to the next, we typically don't see many characters drop off or even have characters referenced as dead. Though we do know death exists in the franchise, besides the fact we have things like ghosts, but if we look at the Able sisters in a backstory retelling from New Horizons, we know that when they were young, their parents passed away. So that then begs the question, is death a risk for Animal Crossing characters that could eventually happen to one character or another? For a really long time in New Horizons, fans suspected that Tortimer may have finally passed away because he wasn't in the game until way later in the 2.0 update. So while he was safe, what about all the other characters that ended up never coming back in this new game? Especially the ones that were outright replaced. Joan is actually a really big possible candidate here, as Daisy May ended up taking on the role of the character. Matter of fact, this has happened in a couple of instances like Chip and CJ, or Nat and Flick. This ends up being debunked though when they did the Amiibo update for the Roost, where if you have Amiibo cards you could bring those villagers in, and it seems like most of these cut characters do end up making a small appearance if you have the Amiibo card. So they're not dead yet, at least. So I guess they covered all of their bases by using the Amiibo and the Roost functionality, except I'm still not convinced when it comes to characters like Wisp and the Snow People, and we still don't question who or what Jack really is. In the older Animal Crossing games, there were these mysterious wanted signs located outside and inside of the police station, and to this day, people don't know who exactly these characters are supposed to be and who they are or what they even did. Now, I do have to say, the one on the outside does at least slightly resemble Tom Nook, which is clever because it does lead to a ton of interesting fan theories and conspiracy theories as to whether or not Tom Nook is a criminal, though the main reason to debunk that is the fact that he literally is just in the town all day, very easy to find, unless our two brilliant police officers here are so incompetent they can't find Tom Nook, who is just down the road literally every single day from morning to night. I have a feeling that it couldn't actually be him, but maybe a relative or maybe some other Tom Nook looking character is wanted here. The two on the inside have caused a lot more debate from the Animal Crossing community. I actually found an old Reddit thread where people were discussing who were on the wanted sign from 10 years ago. And interestingly enough, one person had a really good theory. User Whiteblade3000 posted this image of the character Booster 7 from the Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars game for the Super Nintendo. The structure does line up pretty well, even though initially I thought that the wanted sign looked more like Blathers. I definitely see this model possibly being the homage that is here, but there's never been any official confirmation putting this link together, and that still doesn't explain who this other person is that's in the next wanted poster. Some other people suggested that the character on the right could be Imakuni from the Pokemon series, who is a Japanese musician who did some stuff for the Pokemon anime and heavily promoted the trading card game in Japan and ended up even appearing in some of the cards, though I still don't quite feel like the resemblance is quite there like the other one. Another valid argument could be for Gracie, who would randomly just park her car wherever she felt like it in our Animal Crossing towns back in the day, which would give a reason to maybe put a wanted poster up for her, though once again the resemblance isn't quite there all the way, but maybe? I don't know. Who do you think that this wanted poster is really about? Okay, so what's the deal when it comes to animals in Animal Crossing? For instance, in Animal Crossing, you can have a village just of frog villagers, and then you can go out there with a net and catch a frog and then show it to said villagers. There's definitely a gray area when it comes to overlapping wildlife animals and actual animals. I guess we could assume that they coexist as different species, but is there some sort of connection? When I was doing my 100 days in Animal Crossing video, I found one of my villagers had buried a live hamster randomly, which I then saved and made it into my pet. But there's also hamster villagers out there, so this feels just a little more murderous than maybe otherwise. Not a lot of people bring this mystery up, but it definitely should be a bigger talking point. Besides the existence of fish, we do know owls owls exist because of the owl at the front by the resident services. And even more so, the character Franklin sheds a lot of light on this as well, being the main Thanksgiving Turkey Day type character. In the first Animal Crossing game he appears in, he's incredibly paranoid, almost worried that someone will capture him for whatever reason, probably to eat him. And while he warms up a bit in later Animal Crossing games, it is interesting that this special character did have fear of possibly being consumed. So what really makes this type of character different from any of these other types of wildlife characters, if they're all edible nonetheless? I don't know. It's a shorter, maybe not as deep mystery as some of these other ones, but it was worth bringing up either way. All right, we need to go ahead and take a look at the villager Lucky for just a second. Now, when I was a kid, I thought Lucky was just this cool dog that was also a mummy. I didn't realize that these weren't mummy type bandages, but these were just bandages because the character Lucky was unlucky and got severely injured. It does change your perspective when you're thinking of your villager as a, hey, friendly monster mummy character just chilling out here, to just a really sad story of a burn victim. But nonetheless, we can't help but to beg the question, what happened to Lucky? There is one popular theory out there that the villager Bones got into some sort of accident and died and turned into Lucky, though I would like to debunk this theory right out of the gate, as you can have both villagers living on your island at the same time. So while it is a cool theory, I don't think it really works here. I think the main spin of this character is that he is incredibly unlucky despite his name. Matter of fact, in Pocket Camp, the little explanation or description of him literally says, it's rare to meet someone who fails to live up to his name so spectacularly, but Lucky doesn't seem to mind, so maybe he's pretty lucky after all. Now, tying into my whole I thought he was a mummy theory, to be fair, in most Animal Crossing games up until New Horizons, he did have an Egyptian themed house, but also his little catchphrase is a reference to him getting hurt, kind of saying ouch. So there's definitely a double meaning or double play on this character's design, but that doesn't really give any big clues as to how he got injured in the first place or what on earth is going on with him. Now, of course, we've seen other villagers that have interesting stories too, like Coco or Anka. Actually, let's just not even talk about Anka. Allegedly, there was a website back in the day called The Crossing Guardian that may have provided official Animal Crossing explanations, though we haven't had any statements from Nintendo directly confirming this story as the truth. But the website did state at one point a bizarre fishing accident involving a hook and two bass caused the bandage situation that he has now. And while that potentially could clear up a few things, it also possibly leaves for even more confusion and more intrigue into the true backstory behind Lucky. I will also add that the website says that doctors thought the bandage pup would never dance again, yet there he is, apparently scorching the dance floor. I don't know what that means. It also reminds us that I really miss the way that these types of websites looked back in the day. Now, mind you, there's a lot of other Animal Crossing mysteries that still exist that we don't fully know about. A lot of what ifs that we might explore even more in the future. So let's look at some of these other surface ones real quick as well. Firstly, what's the deal with Wisp? How did he get to the island? Why is he a ghost? Why is he scared of villagers? And why does he always show up at the worst time possible? What happens to the snow people when the snow melts away? I mean, they always seem kind of depressed in their messages when you talk to them for a while. Like they know something's coming, and then they send you a letter in the mail eventually. Are we just gonna accept that they just melt away and die? Do they become Wisp? Is this the connection that we've been missing the whole time? Also, while we're at it, how does snow in Animal Crossing work, and why exactly does snow bring these snow people to life? It's a little bit interesting. Also, have you ever noticed there's a lot of orphans in the Animal Crossing universe? Like, I mean, we can look at the Able sisters. We know Tommy and Timmy are adopted by Tom Nook. And we don't know too much about Isabelle and Digby, but we do know that they were abandoned in a box or something along the lines. They grew up in a box together. So it's assumed that they were also maybe orphans that looked after each other. But we do know Isabelle does mention video chatting her parents on like a weekly basis if you play Animal Crossing regularly. Also a bonus one, why is Blathers scared of insects? Something that never really was clearly explained. And then this is just a really silly one, but there's a whole lot of characters that have appeared in other Animal Crossing games that never came back in New Horizons. And while some of them can be brought to the coffee shop, As for the rest of them, we really don't know whatever ended up happening to them. Kind of like some of the villagers that were in older games and then were never brought back again. Who knows, maybe one day some of those lost villagers will return. And then of course, while we're on the topic, we can't fully just look past, of course, one of the biggest Animal Crossing mysteries, Zipper T Bunny. That stupid bunny rabbit from Easter when Animal Crossing first came out was the worst, and he's still kind of awful and creepy to this day. Many people suspect that there is something hidden behind this villager, behind that zipper. Surely there is something. The game theorists even did a big video concluding that it was some elaborate story of your villager's dad being in the suit, and we actually went ahead and did our own complete video breaking down the mystery of Zipper T Bunny. We question game theorists' conclusions and find an answer that's pretty unexpected, or I don't know, maybe you fully expected it. But if you want to see some more Animal Crossing content, we have a ton of content on this channel, and that's a video I recommend, or look at these other videos we've did. I spent 100 days in the original Animal Crossing game just to get a stupid statue. That was interesting. And also we have this video on 20 minutes of useless Animal Crossing facts that you don't need to know, but if you watch it, you'll learn something. I'm pretty sure there's enough useless information in there that you probably don't know about somewhere in there. Okay. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time with a new video.